favorite girl is here. Oh, you look so pretty. Let me take this. Oh.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know, it's B, it's your girl KylerB coming at you with a new video. So today we're going to be talking about The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 2, and let's get right into this video. If this is your first time clicking on my channel, I do media entertainment and lifestyle entertainment, videos of that nature, reactions, commentary, vlogs, etc, etc, etc. So if that's your cup of tea, be sure to subscribe and be notified for any time I drop any type of content. Anyway guys, let's talk about season 2 of The Summer I Turned Pretty. Let's talk about it. Before I go into the season and my thoughts, we're going to do a recap. Obviously, this is what I do for those who probably just want to click on the video just to watch this. But The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 2 is definitely a contrast from Season 1. You're basically going through the grief stage, We're seeing how different characters, take on grief, their life after this person who's been in their life for multiple years. So we have the beginning of the season. It's the end of the school year. So Steven's graduating from high school. He became the valedictorian. He is going to Princeton. He got into an Ivy League. So, that's going on. We see a bunch of flashbacks of what transpired throughout the entire year. So we see that, where we left off in season 1, where Conrad and Belly kissed on the beach. They walk back into the house. They meet Susanna. Susanna's happy for them because Susanna's basically their number one cheerleader in terms of their relationship. But then they had to tell Jeremiah. So Belly and Jeremiah, they weren't official. Like there was, it wasn't like they're dating for real, but they were just, they shared a few kisses, in the summer. So, they told Jeremiah, or she told Jeremiah that, her and Conrad are together, and he got upset. Even when Belly tried to be friends with him, he basically shut her down. And we know that for an entire year, he hasn't responded back to her texts or calls. So he was out of contact with Belly in terms of their friendship. That Susanna's cancer came back and, her health was declining. Some days were good, some days were bad, but ultimately she did end up dying. So the death of Susanna caused a lot of grief, took a toll on everybody that she was around. So Belly's grades have dropped, she's not doing well in school. We find out her and Conrad broke up. She has a strained relationship with her mother, and her brother resents her because, he was friends with Conrad and Jeremiah, and now he's not as close as with them before because Belly was, the main focal point of why his relationship with, Conrad and Jeremiah is very strained. So then we, see that, she can't get into Penn. She can't get into any of prestigious schools at this moment because her grades are dropped. And, the only possible choice right now is Finch. We also find out that she lost her captaincy of volleyball. So that's a big thing. Like everything just went downhill for Belly. So when we find out in the end of episode, 1 or 2, that, Jeremiah called her, she called Jeremiah, that, Conrad is missing. They go on their way to go find Conrad. We find out that, he's back at the summer house. He finds out that, his Aunt Julia, Susanna's older sister, put the house to sale and, without even being told. So he's trying to fight for the house to be kept, because that's like one of the lasting memories of his mother, Susanna, And, he's trying to, like, convince his father. He's trying to do it on his own. As the older brother, the oldest among the 4 kids, he's trying to do this on his own. When Belly and Jeremiah show up, it's kind of like a little awkward situation considering, their relationships. But at the end of the day, they're still trying to have the common goal of saving the beach house. We see later then Steven and Taylor show up, and then their cousin Sky show up as well. So basically, for another summer, the whole gang is back together in a way, and, trying to save the summer beach house. A lot of things come up, with the flashbacks, with the whole certain things, basically the plot of the entire season. Here's my thoughts, because everything kind of rolls into one, because the entire season 2 took place in a matter of 4 to 5 days. Like, things were happening quickly. We found out that Susanna died basically a month ago. So her death wasn't that long ago. They were selling the beach house a month later. The reasoning behind the summer beach house being sold is because Aunt Julia had like this, I guess one-sided beef in a way with Susanna, and because how Julia's father treated her when he got married to Susanna's mother. She felt left out. She felt like the summer beach house wasn't, she didn't feel belonged there. She just felt like she was the odd person out. And Susanna, she's the person who likes to see the good in people, and she might not, dwell in the fact that, how her father treated her older sister, was wrong or whatever. So at the end of the day, she did tell her sister, Julia, to not resent her for her father's actions. But that is what happened. Julia ended up, I guess, twisting how the Christmas, situation happened. And because of that situation, her and Sky, never, for 10 years, never came back to the summer beach house and never interacted with Conrad and Jeremiah since then. So there was a strained relationship for that. And Susanna died, and, she didn't get a chance to even tell her sister how she felt or whatever. So there's a lot of situations going on with that. That's Aunt Julia basically summarized and basically tied up in a bow. She's doing this because she's trying to get control over a situation that she felt like she was never a part of or never welcome into. And that's like her revenge in a way of selling the beach house. But she came to her senses. Laurel helped her, came to her senses, and she ends up backing out of the deal and letting Conrad and Jeremiah's father, basically sell their Boston house to purchase the beach house. So this season, the flashbacks basically tell you a story. So Conrad and Belly didn't officially start dating until October, because Conrad went and told Jeremiah. He basically begged, Jeremiah for his blessing, so him and Belly to date. It was very awkward. They talked every day. They always talked. Before they even started dating, they were talking. They obviously show you that flashback when he was away at Brown. They would always talk over the phone and things of that nature. So then that was before they became official. Let that be known. That was before they became official. He didn't beg Belly until, sometime in October before Halloween. If you put 2 and 2 together, because when he came with that candy bouquet for Belly, that was in October. So his, begging for blessing, that happened in October. That's what that occurred. So all the conversations before that was before they became something. So after Jeremiah basically agreed to them to get together, he still wouldn't have talked to Belly.
But I needed you, and you just weren't there. You left me.
It's tearing her up that you haven't responded to her text since last summer. Yeah, well, I've been busy.
I don't know, I've texted him a few times since summer ended, and he never writes back.
Then November came, and, Thanksgiving came. Belly came over to the house. Jeremiah is still feeling some type of way about Belly and Conrad being together. They can't even hold hands. They can't even interact. He then pulls Conrad to the side and basically says that, give me a heads up when Belly comes over. Because he's still feeling some type of way about them being together. Odd. So then, next thing you know, another big milestone comes around spring. Susanna's health was declining, and that was this time of prom. Prom time, Conrad had a lot on his mind. He forgot Belly's corsage for the prom. And then as soon as he forgot that, he realized that he's like ruining Belly's big day. So he's feeling bad about himself prior to not feeling, good about the day. At the prom, they're trying to dance or whatever. Belly sees that the vibes are off, wasn't going well. Next thing you know, they went outside to talk, and Belly basically, rips the band-aid off and breaks up with Conrad because she feels like Conrad doesn't want to be with her, which is not the case. But he doesn't, communicate that with her. He's still in his mind, whatever. And then when that happens, he was supposed to fight for Belly after she took off the infinity necklace, but he didn't. He ended up taking the necklace and walking away to his car and driving off. So when Belly noticed that he didn't fight for her, she's like, well, confirmation bias. He doesn't really like me like that. Things like that. He broke her heart. So a month later, Susanna dies. Laurel is planning the funeral, getting the arrangements done, whatever. They go to the funeral. And, after the funeral, the repast, whatever, Conrad is obviously grieving upstairs. She goes upstairs to, comfort him. Sees that he has a girl that's a friend, comforting him. So she runs downstairs because she's assuming, and he chases after her. The time that he used to run after her, he chases after her. And, they have an argument right downstairs in front of everybody, at Susanna's funeral. Anyway, she embarrassed Laurel. She made a scene. Then she leaves the funeral. And that was the last time before, they came back to the beach house that she saw Conrad. So I'm just like, it's a lot to unpack here. So there's a lot to unpack with this whole situation. Granted, a lot of people were saying, like, Jeremiah's also grieving too. Why didn't Jeremiah do this? Jeremiah was not speaking to Belly throughout this whole entire timeline. He wasn't speaking to her. He only called her because Conrad was missing, and at the end of the day, it's only his brother and his father as family members that are close with him. That's it. His mother is gone. So he called Belly to see if he knows where she is, if she knows where he is, and that's why they got together on this road trip to find Conrad. At the end of the day, he was still resenting both him and her because of this whole situation. Resenting. So let's talk about it. This entire season, we basically see Conrad, despite everything that transpired between Belly and him, he still likes her. He's still in love with her. Let me use better choice of words. You know what I'm saying? It's just, has a lot of different things going on. We see that he has panic attacks. Steven actually caught him in one, and he is another person to know, the second person out of Cleveland to know about his panic attacks that we've seen from the show. He even actually picked up on the vibes between Belly and him and actually became one of their number one supporters after Susanna. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? He's actually seeing like their vibe is there after Belly at the party told Steven her feelings about Conrad. You know, he's actually putting two and two together and actually realizing what's going on and picking up on the vibes that's going on. Belly, for half the season, was still having feelings for Conrad. I'm not sure what necessarily changed. Because we also had Taylor in her ear basically saying like, oh, you know, what's going on between you and Jeremiah? Because when they went to the carnival, the boardwalk that day, and she like hold Jeremiah's hand, you know, Taylor's like also trying to be like, oh, there's vibes between you and Jeremiah. When the clubhouse and whatnot, you know, there were also vibes between them. So there's that. What I would say about the whole situation was that when they had the party at the house, and, you know, Jeremiah is like, you know, basically exposing Conrad for begging for his blessing, and basically saying that, oh, he always like to walk away from situations and stuff like that. You know, in that moment, Belly didn't know that Conrad fought for her. She always thought that it was like, you know, one-sided, you know, with Conrad not really caring. She doesn't know Conrad's true feelings, and he's not really expressing that. There's a lot of non-verbal signs, but he does need to express that. He does need to express that to her, like really have communication with her. But, you know, she didn't know he actually did something like that. So with that being said, when they were on the beach and she was just like, if I would have known, you know, if I would have known this is what you did, I would have fought harder for us, She's saying that if she knew that Conrad actually wanted to be in a relationship with her, she would have maybe fought harder when they broke up at prom or stuff like that. And you know, he was like, I thought you knew. To her, she's like, I didn't know you actually fought for this relationship. So she's crying. She's just like, maybe I would have went back and do things differently. So that is the turning point there, because it's like, oh my gosh, big confessional, something that happened. Yeah, so when we get to episode 8, and he's basically getting, you know, Conrad's basically getting the boost from Steven to like finally tell Belly how he feels, while Belly is like, you know, she was trying to tell Conrad when they were like sleeping out in the yard, you know, that she's starting to have feelings for Jeremiah. That was what she wanted to say. So when they saw the kiss happen, when they were waiting for him to finish the biology test, they had the kiss happen, you know, he was confused because he was just like, what's going on here? Because they had that talk in the party store where, you know, he finally opened up about his panic attacks to Belly. And, you know, they were talking about their feelings. That was their opening here. They were talking about their feelings. You know, they were interrupted by Jeremiah. Jeremiah, even after the fact, is still having animosity. And, you know, he did say it's not all about Belly, but at the end of the day, what did this guy do? During the party scene, when he's airing Conrad out, he mentions that, you know, he wasn't there when Susanna, you know, at home every day. And Conrad's like, well, every time I had, you know, time or free time, he would have drove back home to be with his family. I'm just like, I didn't like the fact that, you know, he was trying to blame Conrad for going away to college, you know? Like, at the end of the day, he still made time for his family, always, you know, drove back there because he wanted to be there. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, him throwing it in Conrad's face, like, if you were in Conrad's shoes and going to college, and Conrad did that to you, you would feel some type of way. So I'm confused how, because you're still in high school, and you still live at home, you're over here talking about how, oh, you weren't there. Like, he wasn't there because he was getting an education. Like, what did you want him to do? Like, you have the luxury of still being in high school and going to, still living at home, you know what I'm saying? So you were there all the time. But he, even in his free time, he drove how many so hours to be at home, to be with his mother, and make sure everything was okay, or, see how things were going. So I didn't like when he was throwing that in Conrad's face, because it's like, what? He also said that he doesn't like Conrad, or he used to look up to him and now he doesn't. At the end of the day, when you look back at this season, what did he do besides breaking Belly's heart? Because at the end of the day, Belly was the one who broke up with him. So I'm you gotta make sense. You gotta make sense here. He has this biased opinion that Conrad is this, bad person, and he's not the guy to treat Belly correctly. Even since season 1, if you want to look back at season 1, when he noticed Belly and Conrad talking on the deck, and he threw, he put the firework and basically directly in their direction, and he pretended that, he didn't know they were out there. He knew that there was feelings between him and Belly, and he basically got in the way of it. It was never a love triangle. He put himself into the triangle, if you really think about it.
You kissed my brother.
Still do it for me. They all warn us about times like this. They say the road gets hard.
So, what's with a good mood? I don't know, maybe I'm just happy to be alive after you almost blew me up last night. I said I was sorry. I didn't know you guys were out there.
We hooked up, and then you hooked up with my brother, and then everyone expected me to act like I was fine.
What were you guys doing out there anyway? I don't know. Just talking. About... Don't you have a pool to vacuum?
Frank Ocean is playing the Yarmouth Music Festival.
Stop! My dad's from Repsum. I can totally get us tickets.
For real?
Yes.
Well, actually, Conrad's been wanting to go to Yarmouth.
Does he like Frank Ocean?
Loves him. Yeah. He's just been dealing with a lot of stuff with our dad, But you should take him.
And rent a limo.
Let's. I'll text my dad.
Jay, you're an amazing brother.
Yeah.
Who's blowing up your phone? Nicole. She wants me to go to Yarmouth Music Fest next weekend. You gonna go? Yeah, why not? Good. Thank you.
Are we still friends?
Because at the end of the day, Belly always had eyes for Conrad. She never looked at the brother once. It was only when the brother, confessed his love to Belly, and then Belly was like, oh, interesting. And, she accepted it. That was it. So, to be honest, he knows how Conrad feels about Belly. He's not dumb to that fact. So the fact that, he's making Conrad to seem like this bad guy who's always going to use Belly or break her heart, that's not the case. So when they're talking, he's like, you need to actually tell her your feelings in episode 8. And, he's like, at the end of the day, when he realizes that Jeremiah actually likes, Belly, he wants to take a step back. He's putting their happiness before his wants and needs. Because in the car, he realizes that, Jeremiah actually really likes her. Because it's not even that he knows Belly's favorite candy. Because at the end of the day, Jeremiah was also best friends with Belly. Just like how Taylor and Steven, they were never dating, but Steven knows everything about, the majority of things about Taylor, and that's common knowledge. If you really want to think about it, Steven and Taylor are supposed to be Conrad and Belly's tethers. So people want to say, oh, that's common knowledge for someone who was in a relationship with her. But Steven knows a lot of information about Taylor, and he was never in a relationship with Taylor prior to episode 8. So at the end of the day, is because he noticed little things about Belly. He noticed little things. Like he just noticed little things. He noticed things about Belly. He actually pays attention. They even showed you in season 1 when he was the only one who actually paid attention to Belly. So when we hear from Jeremiah's point of view, that he's like, oh, Conrad never paid attention to her. He only cared this summer. Is Jeremiah projecting? Because only Jeremiah only cared about Belly from last summer. Because Conrad did pay attention to Belly. He did. It just maybe he didn't realize his feelings until the end of the first summer, okay? And he actually explained it, that the reason that he didn't, I guess, pursue anything with Belly is because since he had the knowledge of that his mother was dying, he had a lot on his plate. He didn't really want to do anything like that. But with that being said, since all that information became out in the open, and he doesn't have to carry the burden of that knowledge, it was like he wanted to be with Belly. My thing is that Conrad didn't even know that there was Jeremiah in there, so he wasn't even like acting on anything or like doing some malice or anything out of malice. It was only Belly who knew she had something that was going on with Jeremiah. My thing is that the people who like Jelly or support Jeremiah and Belly in a relationship is that throughout the entire season, Belly had to walk on eggshells with Jeremiah. If nobody has noticed, she had to walk on eggshells. There was a lot of scenes where you just see that, she had to adjust herself or adjust the way that she does things just to appease Jeremiah.
My bedroom.
Yeah, look at how you're mooning over Conrad.
We just need to do one more thing.
Say cheese.
Cheese. He's gonna break your heart.
No idea that he came to you begging for your blessing.
Actually.
I'm sorry.
Sorry for what? For Conrad dumping you?
Really got in?
Yeah. You're cold.
No. I like chili. Just need like... Oh, thank you. I'm gonna play something to bring up the mood. Favorite lunch?
Keep it. You're cold. Just.
Ooh, Sour Patch, my favorite. Oh, I could eat the Swedish fish after. Every Wednesday, one thing they're thankful for.
I'll go last. How about that? Does he know how badly I've wanted to take Belly's hand like that?
From the flashback to holding hands with Conrad to when he calls Belly out for looking at Conrad in their little family friend photo. And when they did that, new family friend photo at the beach house, she's looking at Jeremiah. You know what I'm saying? She changed the way that she did things so she can appease him. Because he called her out on that photo like, oh, look at you looking at Conrad. And then, anytime he's around, she had to adjust herself or change how she did something. You know what I'm saying? To make him feel better. So even though Conrad expressed his feelings to Belly in episode 8, and Belly ended up picking Jeremiah, is that Jeremiah was just like, basically saying, you're going to go back to Conrad anyway. You're going to go back. As soon as he expresses your feelings, you're going to go back to him. You're going to go back to him. I feel like she doesn't want to prove Jeremiah right. So she rather, stick to her decision, basically block out Conrad and his confession of feelings, and basically stick with her decision. She always thought Conrad never really liked her, never really cared about her like that. So she's sticking to that, confirmation bias. But even though he did confess it, he realized that he should take a step back. He took a step back, let them blossom into whatever it blossomed, even though despite his own feelings, he's still wanting to still be friends with Belly. While Jeremiah is just like, it's either us being together or nothing. And that's just what happened. To be honest, that's basically how he put it. It was either them being in a relationship or they can never be friends or talk at all. But at least with Conrad, even though he had to put his pride to the side, he's still willing to, still communicate and, still have feelings. And they disrespected him in episode 8. I took a, long biology test, and you decided to, kiss Belly at his car, wearing the sweatshirt. He had every right to basically ask Belly, are you just trying to get back at me, or what are you doing this for? What are you, you're not making sense. So then, in the car ride, he was just like, you know what? Because I highly bet you, the thing is Conrad and Belly couldn't do not one thing in front of Jeremiah without him, being some type of way about it. So the fact that Conrad had to see that whole make-out session in front of him, you want him to be quiet and silent about it. You're not serious. You're not serious at all.
So tell me, how long has this thing been going on? A week? No? Okay. Oh my God, so that was your first kiss? No. Because Bells, what did you say to me last summer on the beach? You said it was a few times. Discretion. I like that. That looks good on you, Jared, because that's a new thing. That's a very new thing. Because normally you can't shut the fuck up about how many people you hook up with. Because last year, I remember it was 7. And that's not even including Belly. Shut up.
Yeah, don't be a dick.
You're not serious at all. Season 2 basically ended with, she picked Jeremiah. And then she's going back to volleyball camp so she could get her captaincy. And, she's ending up going to Finch because since her grades dropped, that's basically one of her only choices at this point at college. Laurel this season, she definitely, had her ups and downs. They were basically calling her, she's very much relaxed. She was basically absent during the time of Susanna's health decline, and she wasn't, quote unquote there for Belly and stuff like that. So Belly kind of resented her for a bit, that, you weren't there, and then you were upset with her for the whole funeral situation, which, of course she's upset, but she just never voiced her feelings. I feel like, in a sense, Laurel and Conrad have very similar tendencies where they carry the weight of the world on their shoulders without talking about it or really speaking about it. That's where they kind of are very similar. And you can tell because Laurel and Conrad have a very special bond, just like how Susanna and Belly had a special bond, and, we see in episode 8 where Susanna is basically saying Conrad does love her, and she's denying it and saying no, he doesn't. She never believed he loved her. And, I think up until, you know, the beach scene, or even when they were in the motel scene, you know, that's when she finally realized that he did, but then he took it back. So she doesn't know what to believe, so she's kind of just blocking it out and going with Jeremiah, if you think about it. I mean, basically, at the end of this whole situation, I'm on Conrad and Belly's side in this sorts of things. Everyone's saying that Jeremiah's better. Jeremiah's better how? I mean, you know, he's cool and all, but there was a lot of things that were going on this season where you just have to really side-eye. Is like, Belly literally had to walk on eggshells with him, and we're like basically rejoicing over her picking him. Her picking him. You know, like, what's going on here? Steven and Taylor getting together. You know what? Even though they remove Shayla, you know, how they, you know, led up with the whole Taylor and Steven situation is actually quite interesting, and you can obviously see that they're tethered to Belly and Conrad. If you didn't know, you know. And the whole mixtape, the Milo mixtape situation, that was actually kind of funny. I was just like, this is what they're putting in the show. It actually really, you know, did something. But at the end of the day, season 2 basically ends with Belly unclear of her future, basically unclear of what's going on. She's just going with the flow in terms of flow's sake. You know, so she's at volleyball camp, and hopefully everything looks up. Conrad, you know, since they brought back the beach house, you know, he's unpacking the beach house, and we see him unpacking Junior Mint, and basically is Belly's, you know, summer beach house bedroom. So, with that being said, we've seen Conrad in a different light. You know, he's not necessarily, you know, how he was in season 1. We actually kind of like understand him and how he's going through things. You know what I'm saying? He's not the only one going through the loss of his mother. We've seen in a flashback that Susanna was writing letters to Jeremiah, Belly, and Conrad. So, season 3, at the end of the day, we already know what team I'm on. There's just like, it was basically a defending Conrad and Belly, you know, video in the sense. Season 2, like I said, happened in 4 to 5 days. It was just a mission to keep the beach house, which they did with the help of Laurel. When Adam basically said that Laurel wasn't family, I'm like, after being in Suzanne's life for almost 20 plus years, you had the nerve to say that she wasn't family? Like, wow. And then Conrad had to jump at him and basically say, like, yo, like, who, like, know your place. Like, he looked at Belly, and then he just jumped out and basically collected Adam. Because I'm just like, you telling Laurel this is kind of crazy. After everything Laurel done for you and your family, you're trying to diss her because she has no say on this summer house. Okay. But at the end of the day, Laurel got this, you know, got the summer house back. You know, it's not over. Cameron, he made his appearance in the season, and you know, he was just basically having fun. You know, it was just a nice little addition. You know, try to make it, you know, similar to season 1, but there was definitely a stark contrast to season 1. Season 1 is very like happy and light, and season 2 is basically, you know, seeing how everyone deals with grief. You know, Steven, he just went into work mode. You know, Belly, she just regressed. You know, Laurel, she tried to bottle it up. You know, to see season 3. At the end of the day, you only need the books to be Team Conrad. It's very common. It's very knowledgeable to see what the show is doing. I've seen a lot of similarities to the Vampire Diaries on the whole Conrad, Jeremiah, and Belly triangle situation. But the thing about it is that I still see Conrad and Stefan being, you know, character cutters. You know, wow, Jeremiah and Damon are character cutters. But the way that they're trying to, like, you know, the stories of it, like the whole necklace situation, you know, things of that nature. Conrad and Stefan are very much similar with, you know, him being the martyr or taking a step back, you know, of the, wow, Jeremiah and Belly get to see their relationship through. Reminds me of how Stefan took a step back of, you know, Damon and Elena's relationship and basically, you know, try to, like, you know, get out of the way and not try to, like, make it a problem between them anymore. So at the end of the day, I feel like I spoke on a lot of points from season 2, but anyway, guys, this was season 2. Basically defend Conrad Fisher a video, you know what I'm saying. And anyway, guys, if you like the video, comment down below when you have thoughts, comments, concerns, and subscribe to my channel, subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. Peace.